I never imagined a half-open garage door could come so close to blowing up my family's entire life. One quiet Saturday morning, two uniformed police officers appeared on our front porch, badges catching the sunlight, asking to speak with us about a serious HOA violation that could lead to fines, liens, or even forced entry. My chest tightened when I spotted a patrol car parked at the curb, until my wife calmly stepped beside me, invited them in, and said, "Please tell us exactly what the problem is." What they explained next sent a chill straight through me, and what we uncovered later exposed something far darker than either of us ever expected. My name is Alex. My wife, Sarah, and I moved into this quiet suburban neighborhood in Willow Creek 2 years ago. We fell in love with the tree-lined streets, the community pool, and how friendly everyone seemed, at least on the surface. We bought a beautiful 4-bedroom house with a large garage where I keep my tools and my old Mustang project car. Sarah works from home as a graphic designer, and I'm a software engineer, so we're usually around during the day. Life was calm and predictable until Karen entered the picture. Karen Thompson is the HOA president, mid-50s, perfectly highlighted blonde bob, always dressed in pastel cardigans and pearls. The kind of woman who smiles warmly while citing you for having grass one blade too long. From day one, she made it clear she had opinions about our house. First, it was the color of our mailbox, apparently one shade darker than allowed. Then it was the solar lights lining our walkway, which she claimed were too bright and disrupted the neighborhood aesthetic. We fixed everything she asked, paid the minor fines, and tried to stay on her good side. We honestly thought that would be the end of it, but Karen had been watching our garage like a hawk. Our garage door has an old sensor that sometimes glitches, leaving it cracked open about a foot overnight if we forget to double-check. It happened maybe 3 or 4 times over the past year. Never long enough for anything to disappear, and we always close it first thing in the morning. Most neighbors didn't even notice. Karen noticed. She started leaving passive-aggressive notes taped to our door. "Please remember to close your garage." Safety concern for the community. Then the notes turned into official HOA violation letters, each with a $50 fine attached. We paid them just to avoid drama. Then, about a month ago, things escalated fast. I came home from grabbing coffee one morning and found a bright orange sticker slapped across our garage door. Final warning. Chronic violation. Immediate compliance required. Sarah and I laughed it off at first. How serious could a garage door really be? We even joked about framing the sticker. To be safe, we installed a new smart garage opener that sends alerts to our phones if the door stays open more than 10 minutes. Problem solved, right? Wrong. 2 weeks later, on a chilly Saturday morning, I was in the kitchen flipping pancakes while Sarah watered her indoor plants. The doorbell rang, 3 sharp, impatient knocks. I opened the door and froze. 2 police officers stood there in full uniform, one resting his hand near his belt. Behind them, a marked patrol car sat in our driveway, lights off but unmistakably official. "Good morning, sir," the taller officer said, his voice flat. "We're responding to a complaint from the Homeowners Association regarding a repeated safety violation at this address. We need to speak with the homeowners immediately." My stomach twisted. Police. For a garage door. I started stammering about a misunderstanding, but Sarah stepped forward, calm and composed. She glanced at their badges, then smiled politely and said, "Officers, please come in. We'll cooperate fully. Can you tell us exactly what the complaint states?" They stepped inside, boots heavy against our hardwood floors, and I swear the air felt 10 degrees colder. The shorter officer pulled out a notepad and began reading. Multiple reports of an unsecured garage presenting a safety hazard to the neighborhood. Potential for theft, vandalism, or unauthorized entry. The HOA president states a violation has continued despite repeated warnings and fines. We're here to document compliance and, if necessary, issue a municipal citation that could result in daily penalties until resolved. My face burned. Karen had actually called the police on us over a garage door that was closed 99% of the time. I started to explain about the new smart opener, but Sarah gently touched my arm and said, "Let them finish." The taller officer continued, "Ma'am, Sir, we've been informed the homeowner has been uncooperative and that the open garage was observed as recently as last night. The complainant provided photographic evidence and requested law enforcement assistance to ensure immediate correction. Photographic evidence. Last night, our garage had been closed since 7 p.m. I remembered clearly because I'd gone out myself after taking the trash to the curb. Something felt wrong. Very wrong. Then the shorter officer slowly scanned our living room, his eyes pausing on our family photos, and he said something that made the hairs on my arm stand straight up. The hairs on my neck stand straight up. We may need to inspect the garage to confirm its current status, he said. If it's found non-compliant, we're authorized to require it remain closed and sealed until a hearing. Sealed, as enforcing us to stop using our own garage. My mind spiraled. My Mustang, my tools, Sarah's holiday decorations. Everything was in there. I glanced at Sarah and, for the first time since they arrived, I saw a flicker of worry cross her face. That's when she did something brilliant. Instead of arguing or pulling out the app that proved the door had been closed, she looked directly at the officers and asked, perfectly calm, "Before we proceed, can you tell us exactly who filed this complaint and when the most recent alleged violation occurred? We'd like to understand the full situation." The officers exchanged a quick glance. The taller one hesitated just a second, but that pause cracked everything wide open. What came next revealed the first flaw in Karen's perfect plan, and it was only the beginning. The taller officer cleared his throat and flipped the page on his notepad. The complaint was filed by Karen Thompson, HOA president, at 6:42 this morning. She states the garage door was observed open from approximately 11 p.m. last night until 5 a.m. and included time-stamped photos as evidence. Sarah's eyebrows lifted slightly, the only sign she was rattled. "Photos from inside our garage?" she asked sweetly. "Because our security cameras would have recorded anyone close enough to take those." The officers shifted. The shorter one muttered something about exterior photos showing the door raised, but his partner shot him a sharp look. It lasted half a second, but it screamed that something didn't line up. I couldn't stay quiet anymore. "Officers, our garage has been closed since yesterday evening. We installed a new smart opener. I can show you the activity log." I pulled out my phone, opened the mic app, and scrolled to the previous night. Clear as day. Door closed 7:18 p.m. No activity since. The taller officer leaned in, jaw tightening as he read it. He straightened and said, "Sir, we're just responding to the call we received." The complainant was very insistent. Sarah smiled again, but this time there was steel behind it. Insistent enough to request police involvement on a Saturday morning over a garage door? That seems extreme. That's when the shorter officer made his first real mistake. He shrugged. "Ma'am, Mrs. Thompson told dispatch this wasn't the first incident and that the homeowners ignored certified letters. She said if we didn't respond quickly, she'd escalate to the city council and request a lien on the property by Monday." A lien over a garage door. My pulse pounded in my ears. Karen had gone from notes to fines to threatening our actual home ownership in a matter of weeks. Sarah, however, stayed ice cold. She tilted her head. "Did Mrs. Thompson mention that we installed a new opener specifically to address her complaints, or that we paid every fine without dispute?" Another uncomfortable silence. The officers clearly hadn't been told any of that. I pushed harder. "Can we see the photos she submitted? Just so we know what exactly was reported." The taller officer hesitated, then shook his head. "We don't have the images with us. They're attached to the HOA's formal complaint file, but I can radio dispatch to confirm details." He stepped toward the door to use his radio, and that's when everything went sideways. Sarah's phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. She glanced down, and her expression changed for a split second before she masked it. She turned the screen toward me. A ring notification. Motion detected. Front porch. 30 seconds ago. No one had come to the door since the officers arrived. A chill crept up my spine. Sarah whispered, "Check the live feed." I opened the Ring app. The front porch camera showed nothing. Empty. But the side camera, the one facing the driveway, caught something else. A figure in a pastel cardigan, hurrying away from the patrol car toward the street. Blonde bob, pearls flashing in the morning light. Curran. She'd been here the entire time, watching. I silently showed the screen to the officers. The shorter one went pale. The taller muttered under his breath, "That's the complainant." Sarah's voice went flat. "Officers, it appears Karen is currently on our property. Would you like to speak with her?" Before they could answer, the radio on the taller officer's belt crackled. "Dispatch to Unit 17. Be advised, the reporting party has called back and requested you stand down. States the issue has been resolved overnight and no further action is required." Stand down? After sending officers to our door? The two men looked at each other, then at us. The taller one finally exhaled. "It appears this may have been a misunderstanding. We'll document the withdrawal of the complaint and close the call." But Sarah wasn't done. "Before you leave," she said evenly, "can you confirm something for us? Did dispatch mention the complainant providing badge numbers or officer names when she requested a response?" The shorter officer frowned. "Actually, yes." She gave very specific details. Said 2 officers would arrive in a marked unit. Even described the car. My blood turned to ice. How would Karen know that unless... Sarah finished the thought out loud. Unless she has access to police dispatch information she shouldn't have. She let the implication hang. The officers went very quiet. Then the taller one spoke, his voice low. "We are not from the local precinct. We're private security contractors. The HOA occasionally hires us for compliance assistance. Mrs. Thompson has an account with our firm. Private security, not real police." They wore authentic-looking uniforms, drove a vehicle with official-style markings, flash badges that passed a glance, but they weren't actual cops. Sarah's eyes burned with fury, but her voice stayed perfectly level. "So Karen hired you to impersonate police officers? To intimidate us over a garage door?" The shorter officer shifted uneasily. "We're licensed security, ma'am. We identify ourselves as such when asked. We never claim to be law enforcement." I couldn't hold back. "You showed up in uniform, in a patrol-style car, talking about citations and liens. You let us believe you were real police." The taller one raised a hand. "Sir, we're leaving now. The complaint has been withdrawn. We won't be back." They turned to leave, but Sarah stepped in front. "One more thing. Your company name and license number, please. I'll need it for the report we're filing." They hesitated. The taller officer finally pulled a business card from his pocket and handed it over silently. "Apex Compliance Services." At the bottom, "Serving Willow Creek HOA exclusively." As they left, I noticed Karen's white Lexus idling 2 houses down. She had watched the whole thing. When the fake officers drove off, she followed immediately. Sarah closed the door, leaning against it and exhaling. "Alex," she said quietly, "this isn't about the garage anymore." My heart raced. We both knew Karen had crossed a line that could land her in serious legal trouble, but we had no idea why she was so desperate to get inside that garage. What we discovered in the next 24 hours was far worse than we could have imagined. Sarah and I sat at the kitchen table, the Apex card still in her hand, the house quiet, the calm before a storm we could feel in our bones. "We're pulling all the security footage," she said. "Then we call the real police." I nodded, mind racing. Why go to such lengths? Impersonation, trespassing, harassment, all over a garage door? There had to be something in that garage she didn't want us to see. We dove into the full ring and Nest archives. At first, it was mundane. Deliveries, dog walkers, kids biking. Then Sarah froze the video on a timestamp from 3 weeks ago. 2:17 a.m. Karen, dressed in dark clothing, crouched by our side gate with flashlight aimed under the garage door. Over the next 2 weeks, the same pattern. Always between 1 to 3 a.m., always checking if the door was even slightly open. Twice she tried to lift it by hand, but failed. The smart opener had locked automatically. The real shock came from the camera inside the garage. Sarah opened the motion-activated folder, and there it was. Last night, 11:47 p.m. The door closed, but someone was inside. A figure in black moved between shelves, flashlights sweeping over toolboxes and bins, stopped at the far back wall, and pulled out a small black duffel bag we'd never seen. They zipped it back and shoved it behind the water heater. Blonde hair escaped the hood. Karen. My stomach sank. She'd been inside our garage, planning something. All those open-door complaints weren't about safety. They were creating a paper trail to justify entry and retrieve whatever was in that bag. Sarah's voice trembled slightly. We're not opening that bag. We call the police now. I dialed 911, explained the harassment, the fake officers, the trespassing and possible evidence. The dispatcher promised detectives within the hour. When we continued reviewing footage, we found the first break-in 6 months ago, the weekend we visited Sarah's parents. The garage sensor had glitched that night, the reason for the opener upgrade. Karen had slipped in unnoticed and hidden the bag, panicking ever since that we might find it. 2 real officers arrived in a marked city cruiser. We showed them everything, the footage, the fake officer card, the withdrawn complaint. They secured the garage as a potential crime scene and retrieved the duffel. Inside, 23 individually wrapped bricks of cocaine, a burner phone, and a ledger with names, dates, and amounts. Street value over $400,000. Karen wasn't just petty, she was criminal. Rumors about her late husband's shady dealings were true. She'd inherited his stash, hidden in our garage the day we moved in, planning to move it slowly. Once we lived there full time, she panicked. Every violation notice, fine, and complaint about the door was meant to force us to move or give her legal cover to retrieve the stash. When we fixed the door and stayed put, she hired the fake officers in a desperate attempt to intimidate us. By evening, Karen was in handcuffs. Detectives said she broke down immediately, sobbing about wanting to protect her family's future. The neighborhood watched her white Lexus being towed for evidence. The HOA dissolved her presidency that night in an emergency vote. Fines were refunded, violation records expunged. Neighbors we barely knew stopped by with apologies and casseroles. Sarah and I sat on the porch that night, stars shining above Willow Creek. She squeezed my hand. Remind me to always let them talk first. I laughed, the first time all day. Her calm question to the fake officers had started the unraveling. We still live here. The garage door works perfectly now. Sometimes we even leave it open, just to mess with any new HOA busybody watching. Mostly, though, life is peaceful again. Every new neighbor hears the story. Not to scare them, but to remind them that the biggest threats often wear pearls and carry clipboards. They never last long when someone finally asks the right questions. If you enjoyed this story, hit that subscribe button. Every single subscription motivates me to bring even more dramatic HOA stories. And tap the bell icon so you never miss a new upload. I'll see you in the next story, where justice gets even more satisfying. If you want, I can rewrite all 6 parts together in one cohesive, ultra-dramatic version optimized for YouTube storytelling, keeping pacing, suspense, and clickbait energy intact. Do you want me to do that?